Right on.
Yeah, finally you came up.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say. I haven't eaten meat in, I don't know, 8 years maybe, and I just feel like these panels feel like a manipulation tactic to try to make people feel bad for not being vegan. But that goes for all of these panels that are like, oh, you didn't vote for Trump, you didn't vote for Kamala. I just feel like there's no reason to hold a debate if you're not going to listen to the other person's side.
Is there an argument to be made to using animals? I'm sorry, realness.
No,
I'll
I,
mute.
I no, I don't know why I was brought up here under the assumption that I wasn't vegan. I think.
I think we're just bringing up anyone who wants to chat, but I think we've definitely been listening to what people have to say. Whether we like agree or not is a different thing.
Well,
But
maybe that was the like wrong use of phrase. I just feel like when it comes to this vegan thing, not that I practice it in every part of my life, everybody focuses on the animal aspect and tries to make people feel bad because they're harming animals. And yeah, that's horrible. But there's so much more in your everyday life that harms animals too, and people consciously use them every day. So like, where does the line draw where I'm this kind of vegan or you're this kind of vegan? And like, it's a stupid thing to like ignore one side of it when you're preaching the other side.
do you mean like clothing, cosmetics, and like?
Yeah, I mean, you can get vegan cosmetics. You can't tell me that you're a vegan clothing because I'll call you a liar because that's just not true. Your gas, your cell phone, batteries being used for all that stuff, it's all destroying the environment, which in turn is destroying the animals.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty hard in today's society to just cause no harm. I would never claim to be someone who just is like a saint and I cause no harm at all, but
So you're not a vegan then. You say veganism's a lifestyle and practicing this and that, but if you're going to practice one part of it,
veganism is a principled stance against exploitation of sentient beings.
yeah. So your battery and your
phone. Exploitation is using someone without their consent to, or excuse me, using someone unfairly to benefit you.
Yes.
Okay, how often are you contributing to hold on, can you hush? I'm making a point. How often do you support human slavery? How often are you buying electronics? How often are you buying the things that apparently oppress humans versus how often are you buying the things that oppress animals? And I would argue you could do both at the same time. You can unmute yourself now.
So you're saying it's better to oppress humans than oppress animals?
no.
I said you could do both at the same time.
Yeah, but then where do you draw the line is what I'm saying.
Why would I draw a line? I don't need to use sentient beings.
Yes, you do. If you're on the internet right now, you need to use sentient beings.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
He's trying to say that cell phones and
and it's like
vegans are not
knows
perfect. Realness already said we all cause harm just by existing. But there are choices. You have choices. And when you have those choices, why are you choosing to exploit instead of just a thing? You know, you're choosing to use someone.
I'm sorry, it muted for me for like, I couldn't hear you for like maybe 15 seconds.
Okay, so you have choices and you're choosing to purposely exploit and oppress someone. When you have choices, why are you choosing that option?
I'm just like, you're choosing the same option, whether it be a human or an animal. You're using
No, I'm not. When I pick up plant food, I'm not harming humans or animals.
Okay, that's one part of your life. I get that.
What other aspect are you talking about? Like, I don't buy electronics frequently. This is an old phone now.
Okay, so it's just going to go in circles. I don't think we're understanding the point. And
I agree. I don't think you're understanding that you have options. When you go to the store and you pick up plant product, you can eat vegan. You can wear vegan. This is vegan. I don't know what you're talking about with clothing. I don't use animals for clothing. My shoes are vegan. Hold on. Let me show you my shoes.
Is petroleum-based meat.
Hey, Simulate, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you understand the difference between certainty and possibility?
I mean, to its basic definition, yes.
So you can tell me the difference, like whether you know that what you're doing is absolutely harmful versus something that may or may not be harmful.
So yes, because it's all based on evidence that you choose to research or support.
Okay,
So you know what you research off of a bias of what you research.
Yeah, I understand that. So do you believe that it is within the possibility of somebody to do their best due diligence on what they purchase to cause the least amount of possible harm?
Yes, that's the point I was making. Every purchase you make harms something in some way.
No, that's not the point. That's not the point that I'm making. I'm making that. Can you tell me exactly what things that I do or on a day-to-day basis that are certainly like exploitive? Like using an example where you can 100% definitively describe what we are using that doesn't also have an ethical option to it.
Well, I'll start with asking what kind of vehicle do you?
I just asked you a question. You need to follow up before I can answer.
I'm asking you a question to further my answer to your question, because you're playing semantics.
I'm not playing semantics. I'm explaining the difference between certainty and possibility. You know, 100% without a doubt when you. Hey, listen for a second. You know, 100%.
We're not going to play this. Listen.
You know 100% without a doubt when you go to the grocery store and you buy a steak that somebody has to die. You don't know for certain if you are using a phone, which products came from where, whether they were exploitive or not, or any other item of clothing. And there is a stark difference between the two. And if you knew the definition of veganism, it says wherever practicable and possible, we do our due diligence and we make the best decision that we can to make sure what we are consuming has the least amount of exploitation involved, because harm is inevitable in this existence. And all you're doing is appealing to futility here, because you're saying because it exists, everybody's a hypocrite, despite the efforts that they make.
Right.
So, do you drive a gas car?
Yeah, can you explain how driving a gas car is exploitive?
It's exploitive to the environment that we know is.
No. Can you explain how it's exploiting sentient beings?
Okay, so you want to argue about sentient beings?
Can you explain how it's exploitive?
I'll go back to the cell phone.
That's what we are debating here is veganism.
Your cell phone was made by people.
Go back to your gas car, because you brought up the example.
I don't want to talk about the gas car. I switched my point. That's fine. People are allowed to do that.
Okay, because you don't have a logical answer to your gas car, so you can move on to the next goalpost, right? Let's go.
All right, so your cell phone that you use every day to get on here and preach your veganism to everybody.
Yep.
You know who makes that? Literal fucking slaves make your cell phone.
Okay, so there are also there's also the possibility that it is not literal effing slaves that are doing it.
But you can't say
what?
You can't say
Okay, I can say whatever I want. I could say effing. I could say fuck. I said effing. If that's your rebuttal to my response, then
no. My rebuttal is I just think you guys think you're better.
You can't say the F word on TikTok. It'll get my.
Whatever the I want.
Have a great day.
What if I told you my phone was secondhand?
Yeah.
Well, even
He doesn't care.
There's no way to tell definitively whether the technology you're using, the clothing you're using, where each individual part came from, or who assembled it. And I don't know if any of you guys have been on the other app, but things don't look like they're completely horrible in that country he's referring to, like they are here. You know, we rely on a lot of slave labor for agriculture. You know,
yes.
There's a lot of prison work going to agriculture. Yes. I mean, it's stupid.
I mean, honestly, if he's bringing up that we shouldn't enslave humans, which I agree, we can agree that enslaving a human is wrong. Why? Because they're sentient. And that relates to the animals. They're also sentient. So, like, even though, you know, like, just because a tragedy is happening somewhere else, and maybe it's unavoidable in some fashion, that doesn't mean that you get to go do the maximum amount of harm that you can, or that you should.
Yeah, I was about to ask him if because he can't stop everybody from abusing children. That means it gives him the right to do so himself. You know, I mean, it's a horrible like stance. It's extremely inauthentic and like a complete lack of personal accountability.
I mean, it means that we shouldn't fight for anything, you know, because you know, it's just it's too big. You know, the same thing with slavery, with women's rights, LGBTQ plus rights. Excuse me, I didn't mean to blur that. But the point is, though, I had a brain fart, guys. My point was, there's sentient beings. You shouldn't use sentient beings, especially when you don't have to. We live in a non-vegan world. I was told there's animal products in sheetrock. Like, you know, like apparently it's just in everything. But if we stopped using animals, they wouldn't have all these excess byproducts, which is why they're in everything. We just unalive so many animals. Those byproducts are waste. And instead of just throwing them away, they try to find uses for them.
Well, even with like phone manufacturers and stuff like that, or technology, like most manufacturers have either already or are in the process of phasing out using animal products in their in their stuff. So
in fact, I've been told that the screen phone thing is not. They don't use animal products for that anymore.
Yeah, they use a synthetic liquid crystal for it now. For I believe like that's almost the industry standard at this point. And even tires, like there's a lot of brands that are starting to switch away from using the animal products in tires as well.
And you know why that's happening? Because people are demanding it. Right? There was a time when those didn't exist. And there was a demand then that was like, hey, you provide this, I'll buy it. They met the demand. People are buying them. That's how we are going to change people, I guess. You know, it's just like make demands so that there is options.
Yeah.